know what the day is, July 10th. So I would like to welcome our visitors and our observers and thank you for taking time out of your day to attend our meeting. I'm going to go ahead and have Mr. Bukovich take roll.
Okay. Sorry, I was sending out the agenda real quick. It's always at the same link, but I realized I didn't put it in an email, so just making sure everybody knows where it's at. All right, Chair.
Present.
Present.
Affiliates.
Present.
Campaigns.
Present.
Is Mr. Marinovich in the meeting?
Your audio didn't come through. I'm here.
Oh, nice, cool. I heard you. Outreach.
Present.
Fundraising.
Present. Andy, you're quiet.
Membership.
Present.
That's everybody. We have quorum. Everybody's present.
Okay, great. I'm going to open the floor for public comment. Each speaker may have 2 minutes. Do we have any visitors who would like to make public comment tonight? Oh, yes. Go ahead.
Good evening. I'm Frank Atwood. I'm both with the Approval Voting Party and also your liaison to Center Right Coalition, which John Caldera hosts. I'll go over the literature that was handed out. What basically is said is what's said there stays there. Jacob was present by Zoom. There's telling the public, Colorado Public Utility Commissions to cool it, an invitation to their firearms, alcohol and tobacco afternoon, school safety training instruction, the moral case for capitalism, youth in action carrying on the torch of freedom, the future of Tabor, and also Colorado Progressives Journey to Californicating Colorado, and 2 pieces with regards to firearms. Also, at that meeting, I distributed 2 pieces of literature, same pieces that I distributed here, one being a complete Colorado article by Ari Armstrong, Liberty, the Loser in the Colorado GOP Libertarian Alliance, and also Colorado Politics, John Caldera's thoughts with regards to it, and their news report on it. I'm going to sum up the discussion as encouraging but not optimistic that an accord will work out. Jacob, would you like to comment further on your assessment of the discussion?
Sure. I mean, I would say it was mainly John Caldera that gave any sort of opinion whatsoever. I mean, I like his opinion, which is the GOP should back off of certain races just as much as we should back off of certain races. I think John recognizes somewhat fairly so that in the end, this is still partisan politics. And, he did acknowledge that the leadership does not have direct control over how the candidates are chosen. But what I mentioned to him was, we are sort of just kind of going to go with what we, do our best to explain things to our delegates, hopefully move things in the right direction. And ultimately that I felt that the GOP will probably have a lot more difficulty holding up kind of quote unquote their end of the bargain. That's not really the right language here, as there was no official bargain struck. But I think the GOP will have a lot more difficulty with its candidates than we will necessarily have with our candidates.
And I did mention to the CRC people that the Libertarians do have none of the above on the ballot, so it's possible for leadership to encourage constituents to vote for none of the above and keep it off the ballot. Also, on one occasion when Scott Gessler was running for Secretary of State, there was an informal agreement between him and the Libertarian Party not to run a candidate if he had kind words for approval voting, and he did. And so on that election about perhaps 12 years ago, he did not run. So I'm sure I've gone over my 2 minutes. Thank you very much. Any questions? Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, repeat again, what race was that you were just talking about?
This was Secretary of State race in which Scott Gessler won and made an informal agreement with the Libertarians not to run a candidate if he endorsed approval voting on his website.
Okay, so it's not entirely unheard of what's going on right now.
No, a little bit more blatant than usual and a little bit more generic, but there are specific examples where, and it may be illegal. I don't know. I saw no reason to pursue that. The details.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Atwood. Is there any other questions for Mr. Atwood? Okay, seeing none. Is there any other visitors who would like to make public comment?
Yes, I would, Madam Chair.
Ms. Harlos, go ahead.
So on what's going on with the agreement, I just have a request. Because I keep having to send people to that article on the LPCO page, which was very well done. One nit, I always have a nit, but if we could be more clear in our messaging that the board really does not have that power, because some of the things said on social media aren't quite as clear as the article on the webpage. And another request I have, which this is a matter of preference, if the board decides to do it, I'd love it. If not, it's up to you guys. Can we please stop buying into the GOP language on spoiler? And if we want to use that language, why aren't we saying that they've agreed not to spoil our elections? And I think that would go over a lot better with constituents, because I think that's what's really bothering people, is that we're buying into their language. And we could be allies. They're exploiting it by saying we did such and such. There's no reason why we can't turn around and go, yeah, well, they're not going to spoil our elections. So if we're going to use the term spoiler, let's turn it around. But if you don't, it's a matter of preference, but I think that could be a winning strategy.
Thank you, Ms. Harlos, for your feedback. We'll definitely consider it. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Any other public comment?
I'd just like to say that's explicitly part of the strategy, that there are times when they won't run a Republican candidate, when we will have a Liberty candidate.
I just think it'd be funny to say it that way.
Yeah,
And I think people would dig it if we said it that way.
I'm not opposed to it myself, so I actually like that. So we'll definitely be chewing on that for a little bit. So hopefully something comes of it. All right, so we have the approval of the agenda next. Is there any additions to the agenda that need to be made?
Yes, Ms. Chair, I have an addition.
Okay.
Because I did not see it, although I will admit I didn't check it right before the meeting. I would like to add Vote Gravity, which is a canvassing software, to the agenda, as well as potentially someone to help run that software.
It is actually on there. I just looked at 13.2. So that you're good. You're good. Is there any other additions that any other board members would like to make? I would actually like to make one addition that we discuss how we can use the Delta County funds to drum up some activism in Delta County. So if we could add that at 13.8, Mr. Secretary.
What did you say that was?
Discussion of how we can use Delta County funds to help drum up activism in Delta County.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. So we have the agenda with some additions made. Is there any objections or any corrections? Hearing none, that passes. We all received a copy of the previous board minutes. I hope you all have had a chance to go through that and proofread those and make sure everything looked correct. Are there any corrections to last month's minutes? Hearing none, they are approved as written. Now we'll go into reports from affiliate representatives. Do we have anyone from Arapahoe County on tonight?
Hi, Hannah. Joe DiBiasio, Chair.
Hello, Mr. DiBiasio. How's it going in Arapahoe County?
I think things are looking pretty good. We have identified a couple candidates who are interested in running. Is everything okay?
Somebody's at the door, that's all.
Okay. All right. Yeah, no, we've identified a couple candidates. I've been working with Jacob to get the details fleshed out for those. I'll be meeting with Scott Jordan here the next couple days. We're still trying to figure out Scott Leva. There's a couple of things here and there that we want to discuss with him. Really, what I'm looking for is kind of optimizing our candidates, make sure that they're running for the. In my opinion, I want them to run for the best opportunities that we can actually maximize a win. I'd like to see more wins. I do want to pay close attention to how our candidates have performed in the past. So we're still out there looking for candidates. If we have enough, I'll run a Libertarian for every single nonpartisan race. Of course, there's a lot of special districts that need attention. In my county, I'm looking at stepping up. I already sent out my resume to fill in a special district out here that I'm affiliated with. So I'm looking to just jump in myself. Can't really expect other people to do it if I'm not willing to take it on myself. Tomorrow we have Arapahoe Happy at Max Taps in Centennial at 6 p.m. Everybody's invited to come out. We'd love to see everybody. We're hosting Christy Burton Brown. She's with Advanced Colorado, so she's a senior policy director over there. And we're hoping that she can give us more information on Proposition HH, see what that position looks like. I'd like to know more about it myself. So we do want to extend that out to everybody if they want to come out, have a beer, listen to what she has to say. That would be great. Other than that, I don't have anything to add.
It looks like Mr. Loria has a question for you. Go ahead, Mr. Loria.
Is that the person who's coming to speak? Is this the former chair of the GOP, Christy Burton Brown?
That is correct. Yes, she is. She also happens to be the former chair of the GOP. Yeah.
I love everything about that. Thank you so much.
Yep, you're welcome.
Thank you for all your hard work, Joe, and the great update.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Do we have anyone from Boulder County? Pardon? Oh, okay.
Bennett Rutledge is vigorously trying to recruit candidates for centennial municipal elections, if that hadn't been mentioned. Thank you, Mayor.
Oh, okay. Great.
Can I say one thing real quick?
Sure.
I just want to say nice work to Joe for getting Christy Burton Brown, because I know how much displeasure she publicly spoke out against our agreement. So nice work.
Thank you.
He's a boss. Do we have anyone from Denver to speak on behalf of the Denver affiliate? Do we have anyone from Douglas?
we had our monthly meeting a couple days ago, and we had a small turnout, but some very active people, and it was a good meeting. We had kind of an unfortunate incident happen though. When we got there, they always have the room opened up and they're set up to accommodate our group. We have a back room in the back of the restaurant, and the manager came out and said, well, somebody called yesterday and canceled the meeting. So, well, who was it? Well, I don't know, it was a lady. I said, well, the only lady that we have that would have been in a position to do that was my wife, and she certainly didn't do that. And I confirmed with Karen later that she did not. So somebody called and canceled our reservation at the restaurant. Luckily, we were still able to have our meeting, but the restaurant was not prepared for us. They were able to accommodate us, but it could have put them in a very bad spot. So I would encourage any of the affiliates that are around to make sure and confirm your reservation for your room or your space is still good, and make sure the restaurant will only take calls from 1 or 2 people within your group, so that they won't just take somebody's word that the meeting is canceled. Also, we have our Pride event in Castle Rock coming up in August. We're looking for volunteers to help us man the booth. It's a one-day event. So the more bodies, the better. We'll probably get some signs to carry around in the event that we have more volunteers and we have room in the booth. But we'll have a good presence out there, and within that community, I think they don't know who the Libertarians are and what we believe. So I think that will be a good thing if we can get some exposure there. So we'd appreciate all your help. Love to see several board members show up for that too.
Wow, Mr. Harlos, I can't believe that happened to your affiliate. That is crazy and also immature for somebody to call and do that. I think that's something my teenagers would do. Anyway, I'm really excited that you're going to be attending a Pride event, and that's going to be really exciting. So good job, good work. I love hearing great updates. Thank you very much. Do we have anyone from El Paso tonight? Do we have anyone from Jefferson County?
Merle Hendrickson. Yeah, we had a great meeting at our last county meeting. Jacob Luria provided some great training on this canvassing software we're going to be using for the local affiliate to promote Jessica and myself. We also had a nice little turnout for the Park Hill Independence Day Parade in Denver. There were about 9 of us carrying signs for a banner promoting the Libertarian Party and signs for my campaign, and we're in t-shirts. Our next meeting will be on Thursday the 27th, and we're going to have that at the Hall in Lakewood, and Vance, remind me of who's coming to speak. Do you remember? We have somebody lined up, I think, with
We have someone from the Tabor Coalition who's coming to speak. I'm just not sure who it is.
Thank you, Jacob. It was slipped my mind. That's all I can think of, unless anyone else has anything to add from Jeffco.
Anything else to add? All right. Well, you guys are definitely rocking and rolling out there. Do we have anyone from Mesa on tonight? Do we have a representative from Pueblo County? How about Larimer?
I'll speak for kind of Larimer and Weld. We had a little booth at Keensburg's 4th of July celebration. Bennett Rutledge actually went out. Kudos to him. Cole Roberts from Fort Collins went down, and Bruce Griffith, I think he's from Weld County, was also there. Seems like they had a pretty good time. I hear the fireworks were spectacular. We are having, so Brandon Wark has kind of set up a recurring Liberty on the Rocks. We don't have speakers yet, but we're just sort of moving around and spreading the word. So the next one is this Wednesday at Zweig Brewing Company. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but that's at 4612 South Mason Street in Fort Collins. Again, that's this Wednesday from 7 to 9, if anybody wants to come up. Yeah, any affiliates that are doing stuff, get pictures. Please, please, please. Please get pictures and then send them to us.
Yes, definitely. Thank you for that request. And I'm glad to see Larimer's picking up some traction and getting some things going. That's great. Next, we'll move on to reports from our LNC representatives. I'm assuming Ms. Harless would like to give her LNC secretary update to us.
You caught me unaware, so I was sitting there just doing my Freedom Fest stuff. We have a meeting next month in August at DC, and waiting for the official announcement of who won the convention theme, waiting for staff to get that out. Just been super busy. Thank you for the board members that did come to our July electronic meeting. That's really a way to keep up to date with what's going on. I don't really have much else to add, but I'm like going in 10 different directions at once right now, trying to do Freedom Fest coordination of volunteers. So if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them, because I'm sure there's something I'm forgetting.
Does anyone have questions for Ms. Harlos?
Quick question, where does Colorado fall in terms of delegates so far?
Well, I was just talking with Hannah about this. We did slip in national rank, but it was 4 members. It's not too discouraged about, like that could be made up really quickly. And we were really close. I gave Hannah all these numbers. I'm going to send it to the board to like jump back over into 7. I haven't done the calculations yet. I do expect to do those within the next week to let you know if delegate allocations were that day, what it would be. But I haven't had a chance yet to do them. Angela and I got like caught up in some other projects. But that is one of the next things I'm going to be doing, so you guys will have some numbers to work with, and I'll get the board the statistics of how many you would need to catch up, you know, for the various ranks. But really that drop, yeah, it sucks we dropped, but it was literally only by 4 people, and I think it was only 3. Because I think they're not counting you, and I'm waiting to get an answer on that because it's a long story.
I don't like that.
What?
I don't like that.
You're not.
Yeah.
I've been paying for that.
Yeah, I know.
Right. We don't need to get into that right now. Because I've been paying for it, I don't think they're counting him. I think it's going under my name. And even though we haven't reached lifetime yet, it should still count him as basic, but I think it dropped him as basic, and it's just putting all the money under my name. So we got to do a little straightening that out, but that's another good thing to bring up. I brought this up with Hannah. People can sponsor other people to be members. So if you know someone who can't afford it and you can buy a membership for them. So that can be another way that Colorado can get its numbers up. Because some people right now don't have the $25, and if someone else wants to bless them, we might as well do that.
We have 2 questions on the call. First, I'm going to call on Mr. Loria, and then I will call on Mr. DiBiasio. So, Mr. Loria, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Harlos. Do you know, is there a room block set up for the national convention at the hotel? And then I did see the email about the presidential package. But do you know if or when the other type of tickets will go on sale for the national convention?
I can answer that partially. We were waiting for the theme to be finalized before The website's kind of sort of live, but no one knows how to get to it before we did the official launch of the website. We do have the room block link. I would expect all of that to go live within the month, including some early bird packages besides the presidential one. But we wanted, we wanted to theme the website. So we wanted to know what our convention theme would be and maybe even have a logo done by then, but at least the theme. And
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Mr. DiBiasio?
Hi, Karen Ann. I have a question about the sponsorship. So how does that look? How do we make that happen? And is that something that we need to figure out the process, or do I just contribute the money and then say, hey, this is the person I'm sponsoring?
yeah, contribute the money and then forward the email. And I'll say this all here, but you all can email me or Hannah to get the details, because I just gave Hannah these details over text. Email your receipt and say, I want this to go towards X person. You'll need their address or phone number to make sure we have them right in the database. But email it to chair@lp.org, secretary@lp.org, then Laney, LIANIE.Houston, which is HUSTON, @lphq.org. Hannah has these emails as well in text. Or if you just email it to secretary@lp.org, I'll take care of forwarding it to everybody else. And I'll follow up on it, because right now we are a bit short-staffed and Andy desperately needs some IT help. So I'm keeping a list to make sure Colorado gets its numbers, and I'll make sure it happens, because Andy knows I'm a royal pain in the ass.
Thank you. Did that answer your question, Mr. DiBiasio?
Perfectly. Thank you.
Cool. Great. All right. I invited Miguel and Becky tonight. It was a little late notice. I put reminders in my phone for the next 6 months with alarms, so I can invite them sooner than 30 minutes before the meeting. Mr. Gonzalez, I see you.
We had two comments in person. We wanted to let them, if it's okay with you, let them comment.
What?
We had 2 questions for Karen Ann in the room.
Oh, okay. Yes, I'm so sorry.
Have you talked? Do you know Paul Bracco in
Yeah.
Virginia? And he's written something to calculate those totals automatically if you just plug in the membership numbers.
I know how to do that.
Awesome,
Yeah.
perfect.
I've been doing, I've got all those set up on my own things, and it also allows you to play around with regional allocations as well, in case people are thinking of that. So yeah, I do have that.
Awesome.
Madam Chair, Blake Huber.
Yes, you have the floor, Mr. Huber.
First of all, I want to compliment you on the way you're running the meeting. I've been to a lot of meetings. They're not run as well as this. Thank you. Also,
Thank you.
re-announce I am willing to sponsor anyone who can't afford to join the party to get our numbers up. I don't have a lot of money. I'll have to cut it off at some point. But if 1,000 people want to have support, I can't do that. But, you know, anybody who needs support, please let them know. You can get a hold of me or get a hold of Karen Ann. She'll get a hold of me. I will sponsor them happily.
And
Thank you so much.
the Google Sheets that I was so freaking out about before.
Yeah,
That's all my
they're getting
calculation
preserved.
sheets.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's so generous and so kind of you, Mr. Huber. So we don't have regional reps, so I'm going to go over that. Next is board reports. I would actually like to just add a few things to my board report. First and foremost, I was so nervous running the meeting last time that I completely skipped over the style committee appointments. So we already have the applications. They should be posted to the website. We are going to be, after this meeting, getting the email out so we can fill the style committee appointments. We're just postponing that till next month. And once again, I apologize. That was my mistake. Next, I met with Natalie Minton, with my vice chairman, Mr. Gonzalez, with our membership, or with our legislative director, Mr. Vance, and with the campaign director, Mr. Luria, to discuss the No on Prop HH committee, and that was very interesting. So we'll talk more about that later, but I just wanted to add that to my agenda, to my board report. Excuse me. Mr. Gonzalez, do you have anything to add to your report?
Nothing further to add, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Hendrickson, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, a couple things. We have our quarterly report to turn into the SOS. I have communicated with the vice chair, and based on the amount of entries I've already done and what's needed to be left, between the two of us, we will be able to get the rest in. So no worries on that. As far as getting some more people involved to help with the backlog, I sent an email to the chair and vice chair regarding the people who had stepped up to offer to help with the backlog 16 days ago. Unfortunately, I guess they missed that email, but I spoke to the vice chair on the phone 2 days ago, and we are getting communication out to those people so that we can get them on board so that they can start helping with the backlog. I have besides the new assistant treasurer who was onboarded a couple days ago, I have an additional 4 to 5 gentlemen who have offered to help with the backlog, and at least 2 of them have offered to become part of the new standing audit committee, although with the late notice, I'm not sure if either of them have sent in their applications yet. But we should definitely have that by next month. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hendrickson. Mr. Secretary, do you have anything to add?
Just going over dates. The only ones that we even can know the date of until we get the next convention date are the style committee thing, the audit committee, which is what Merle was just referring to, both of which we'll be doing next month. And today we have to appoint a chair of the convention committee.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I wrote those down also. Affiliates.
I think just one thing to clarify on my report, on July 20th, I will be making a trip up to Summit County to speak to the Come to the Table group about the LP party in general. There are kind of a mixed bag of folks there from all different walks. If anyone is interested in participating with me, please contact me and I'm more than happy to team up with you.
Great. That sounds exciting. Thank you. Campaigns.
Oh, sorry. No, I have nothing to add to my report.
Thank you. Communications.
Yes, as some of you probably have seen, the official Twitter account for the party has been permanently suspended. We appealed that decision multiple times to no end. And the original notification email does not show the actual content that supposedly created this violation, so we don't actually know why, other than they said that we violated their policy on violence. So we have an account that we are using to represent the board of the Libertarian Party of Colorado, and moving forward, that will be the main source of information on Twitter in lieu of this suspension, and that's LP of Colorado handle on Twitter. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Fundraising.
Nothing further to add.
Thank you. Legislative.
Nothing further to add.
Thank you, Mr. Vance. Membership.
Yes, so I had my the first newsletter that recently came out earlier this month. Um, Going forward, I would like to have any kind of affiliates. If y'all have something going on that's cool, unusual, that y'all did something very big. I believe Wayne, you spoke about some things earlier, stuff like that. Let me know. I would love to put that in the newsletter and kind of highlight y'all or any kind of other affiliates if y'all are doing anything out in the state. I would love to include that in that.
Thank you, Mr. Lockamy. Mr. Loria has a question for you.
John, just quick question. On the report, the membership summary, is that a national membership or is that our state membership that we just instituted this last convention?
That, let me actually go back to that.
Sorry,
What
I
are we in?
was.
So the Colorado Register of Libertarians, that's what's registered with the Secretary of State. And the one above that, that is the state.
Oh, okay, cool, sweet. Thank you so much.
Yep,
that's awesome.
Great, thank you. Moving on, Ms. Steinke for Outreach. Do you have anything to add to your board report?
Nothing to add.
Great, thank you. Staff reports, Mr. Aiken, do you have anything for us today?
Yes, I tried to deliver a collection of literature to Jennifer Coop in Chaffee County. We were unable to connect, so I have that bundle of literature with me if somebody needs it to take someplace else.
Okay, I also spoke with her. I believe she's willing to reschedule. Trying to get you guys on the same page is proving to be challenging. I'm up for that challenge though, so hopefully we can get that squared away. Mr. Savoy, would you like to give us a report for your technology?
Yeah, I got a wireless hotspot recently to try and decouple from the Independence Institute's network, which has just been horrible stream quality, 55% frame drop, and just terrible connection. And it worked, so we have a stable connection. That's pretty exciting. Fair warning though, we are probably going to run out of data in a little less than an hour, so anyone watching the stream, it'll get a little shaky towards the end, but we'll work on that for next month and also put the owl a little bit lower so you can actually see people's faces. It's a learning experience, I'm getting there. That's all.
Thank you. Anything's an improvement, I guess, right? All right, so now we have committee reports. Let's see, Mr. Gonzalez?
We have another comment in the room, Mr. Chair.
Oh, okay.
So, Hannah and I offered Justin to purchase this with our discretionary funds that we're allowed to use, just so you could get it done by the meeting. I would like to authorize to pass a motion, like as the board, to authorize that, so that it's just from us and not from me and Hannah. What was the total you ended up spending, Justin?
381, and then the plan we're currently on is $20 per month. That hasn't charged yet.
Okay.
I will probably be asking to increase that at some point, but that's neither here nor now.
So, in the meantime, can we authorize $381, or I move to authorize $381 for the mobile hotspot?
We have a motion to okay, well, we have a second. Is there any discussion? No questions, comments, concerns? Great. All right, so is there any objection to spending $381 plus the $20. Hearing no objection, that passes. All right. So now we move to the merchandising committee. There's not much going on, I know, with that, Mr. Luria, but if you'd like to just give us any update on that.
There isn't much yet, although the plan is, so everyone knows, once we're switching banks, that we're going to have our bank accounts that will be, I believe, Bank of the West, so it will be a lot easier for the party to handle that. And then once that's up and running, we'll get those up. I know Aaron is very excited to get our new logo on a bunch of merchandise to get it out. So I think the bank is happening this week. So once that's done, I would imagine we can get this back up and running by the end of the month.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. Our audit committee is vacant. We don't have any special orders and we have no unfinished business. So moving on to new business. First, we have the candidate pledge. We had a committee meet of people, several board directors and Brandon work, and we came up with two drafts of the pledge that was published with Mr. Luria's board report. Is there any discussion on the candidate pledge?
You got one in the
Mr. Gonzalez?
Mr. Chair, we do have a comment or suggestion in the room from Ms. Harlos.
Okay, I'll allow it.
Had a question. I'll be honest, I haven't had a chance to examine the document very much, and mostly what I know, everything I know, I learned from Twitter. But there was some questions or concerns and trolls asking about an anti-war position potentially being added to that, and a support for decriminalization of more substances added to that. Of course, there's a lot of people trolling about abortion, and what I said to them is the party takes no official position on abortion, so I'm not going there. But I thought the 2 points on substances and anti-war, whether they were coming from a good place or not, I don't know. I thought they were good suggestions, so I just wanted to put that in the board's ear.
Great. Well, we can definitely discuss it. With Ms. King.
We did have some discussion about substances. Partially the reason that we haven't really put that on there is because we're kind of facing nuclear war, and I feel like that's maybe more important. In Colorado, we've already kind of nullified at least some substances. Many states have. So I feel like the drug war is a little bit of a back burner thing for most Republicans at this point. Not all of them, mind you. And if they're outspokenly, anti-substances like Kirkmeyer, they're not gonna win just in Colorado in general. And on a federal level, I kind of feel like we have bigger fish to fry. That said, we do have some anti-war. I was just bringing up today that maybe we should make it a little bit stronger worded than it is, and maybe kind of move it to the top just to kind of, at least for for the state level stuff, that doesn't matter. Those people aren't voting on anything, but for Congress and Senate and stuff, I think that is probably pretty important for more federal positions. There are some anti-war Republicans, but it would be nice if they were anti-war, because they don't want to blow up the whole entire planet instead of just because they want to fuck the Democrats. Sorry for my language.
Just a follow-up. Thank you again. Everything I know I learned from Twitter, so that just goes to show you sometimes how accurate Twitter is, because they're claiming there's no anti-war things on there, and again, I didn't examine it closely, so I thank you for that. I thought that would be the answer, on the substances stuff, and I completely agree with you there. But I need to scold the board for actually listening to concerns, because you're supposed to be horrible, awful people that sold out to the GOP. Hello, Jonathan Casey. So, bad board for actually listening to people and concerns. Shame on you.
Well, I myself am a Democratic plant, so there's that. Considering my strong Democratic family, Mr. Marinovich, I see you have your hand raised. I would love to hear what you have to say, and then next I'll call on Mr. Lockamy.
Yes, to Karen Ann's point, and I know we discussed this as well, but I think it's a good idea to like loop in the Constitution and a traditionalist interpretation of the Constitution when addressing these issues, especially the anti-war thing. Like, I don't know if it's a bridge too far to say, something along the lines of the War Powers Act and like getting a vote in Congress, as Ron Paul always pushes, before we go to war, instead of saying anti-war, like do it the right way that the Constitution brings out, which obviously we all know would make it very, very difficult for us to actually engage in conflicts in the long run. So I think just in general, if we tie this horse to being constitutional, I think that's like the easiest way to like get what we want and also message to conservatives. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Lockamy, I'll call on you next.
Yes, more of like a style. We spent quite a bit of time designing our logos. So before we sent out this, could we put our new logo on this?
Yes.
Well, eventually. We don't currently have like the new logo though, right?
The designer should be wrapping that up and sending over all those files imminently. So,
okay.
So yeah, the final draft is there. The final draft has not been seen to the public, even on our new Twitter account. So once we get the finalized versions with all of the stuff that Kirsten needs and all the file kind of formats, then we can do that. So I think a week or so we should have all that together.
Okay, Mr. Bukovich.
Do we have a motion related to this right now, or are we just putting this out there, discuss, get member feedback, and come back with a resolution to say this is what we would like people to sign?
As far as I know, this is just discussion because I knew there was discussion about what we want to do as far as, is this the draft that we're approving? And then, or are we going to make any substantive changes? So if we're going to make some substantive changes, we need to make them here and now, and then we can come back and then vote on it next time. Is there anyone in the room that would like to speak to the issue? Anyone that I'm not seeing?
Looks like a no.
Okay, Miss King.
Do we want to read it out? I don't know if membership has seen. Membership's seen some of it if they're on Twitter, but I don't know if this is do we want to share it publicly at this point?
We absolutely can. Do you want me to pull? I can pull it up right now. So, which pledge am I at? So this is the federal pledge. Will you include, this is number 1, will you include auditing the Federal Reserve in your 2-year congressional plan? Will you prioritize reducing the size of government and funding of all 3-letter agencies? Will you abolish the Department of Education, returning education back to the local control? Will you uphold freedom of the press and demand the incoming president pardon Julian Assange? Will you protect whistleblowers and push the incoming president to pardon Edward Snowden? Will you audit and reduce foreign aid spending, including spending to Ukraine? Will you work to remove the presidential war powers and return those powers back to Congress? Will you vote to always protect and uphold the right to bear arms? Will you move to abolish all federal gun laws, including the NFA? Will you support and uphold the freedoms afforded to the American people as set forth by the Founding Fathers? And then there's a clause at the end, and I imagine both of them have, I know they do, but by signing this pledge, you commit to you uphold these principles and actions as a federal candidate for the Colorado Republican Party in the 2024 election, acknowledging that these actions are the best way to make America freer and more prosperous country. The state pledge is longer, so bear with me, I can read it all out. Will you vote against any new restrictions on our rights to keep and bear arms and repeal existing restrictions? Will you support and defend the rights of district ballot access by citizen initiative? Will you fully defend the Taxpayer Bill of Rights and do everything in your power to protect it, including voting against any legislation that would use refunds for buying votes? Will you vote against tax increases, and will you vote to eliminate the income tax? Will you vote to lower mill levy rates to provide property tax relief? Would you support an audit of the state government and its use of tax money? Do you support increasing government transparency, including the expansion of the Colorado Open Records Act? Will you stand up for parents by voting to protect their rights to raise their children by their own standards and beliefs? Will you stand up for Colorado students by promoting education freedom, including expanding school choice? Would you support legislation to eliminate or to limit the emergency powers of the governor? Will you support deregulating the medical marketplace in order to provide better and more affordable health care? Will you defend medical freedom by opposing any mandatory vaccine program or vaccine passports? Will you support ending civil asset forfeiture to ensure that only individuals convicted of a crime should have their property confiscated? Will you introduce or support a version of the Defend the Guard Act? Will you support food freedom such as raw milk and local meat processing? Will you vote to ban red light cameras, speed cameras, and other surveillance devices? Will you support the ability of peaceful people to live their lives freely without government interference? And last, will you support and uphold the rights of individuals afforded in the Colorado and U.S. Constitution?
May I make a quick comment about this?
Yes.
This every single year because some of these things, like Ukraine is very timely. Maybe we won't be in that year next year, or that war next year, maybe. But yeah, I think that it's going to be important for us to have an annual reassessment of all of these points and add things or edit things as necessary.
Okay. Yes, I really like that idea. That's such a great perspective. We should definitely include that when we draft a motion. Mr. Bukovich, I see your hand raised.
About sound, like on the federal level, we got stuff in there about sound money, war powers, the stuff that I think is most important to us, but we need something in there about the intelligence agencies. We don't have anything in there about like, would you audit the FBI or something like that?
Well, there is on the first one, they specifically say, will you prioritize reducing the size of government and funding to all of the three-letter agencies?
But that's like there's like a bunch of three-letter agencies that like aren't the intelligence agencies. I think we should specifically call out that like the best available evidence and their hesitancy to release it suggests that like they killed JFK and that like they are one of like the biggest cancers in American society and specifically need to be investigated and have their funding examined.
Okay. Okay. So I'm hearing a lot of discussion on this. Would it be best would the board want to move perhaps to have this sent back into committee for another round and then bring it back to a vote next meeting?
We haven't made a committee?
Pardon?
Made a committee since you've been chair?
Well, it's like it was informal. And you were invited to come, Mr. Bukovich. You should have did that.
Be our first committee.
No, no. I mean, well, I think at this point we could essentially call it that. I don't know what we want to call it. So do all directors want to have input? Does anyone do some of you not care? Oh, also I see Mr. Loria's hand is raised. I'm sorry. Would you like to ask a question? No. Okay. He just had it up. Okay. So yeah.
Sorry, I forgot to take myself on mute. I apologize. The serious comment I was going to make was my understanding was this pledge and all of this was just for the 2024 election. 2025 will only be local anyways, and then I don't know what will happen in 2026. So I think focusing on just the 2024 election on this is sort of the priority. The funny comment I was going to make is we should just state then, Andy, as therefore, since the CIA obviously assassinated JFK, we call for the abolition of the CIA, the FBI, and all other intelligence agents.
Well, a credible thing you could actually put is you would vote for the immediate release of all files related to JFK, and the intelligence agencies cannot delay anymore as this has already been passed by Congress.
Okay.
No, I like it.
His nephew is now running for president and claims and makes this very claim, makes it more relevant now than ever, I'd say.
He's an anti-vaxxer.
All right. So I think we're getting a lot of really good feedback on where we are. And I guess we should workshop it a little bit more. Also, I do know that time is of the essence for us to be getting this out. So I may end up calling a special meeting in the middle of the month just so we can wrap this up quickly and get it out because, campaign cycles, they're not, we're all strategically, we should all be us, ours, D's, whoever, third parties should be really already looking at and thinking about 2024. So I would like to get this out timely so that we can start throwing our weight around. That's what I want to see. So we'll go ahead and we will, I believe we table this till next meeting, correct? That's how, yeah. So we'll table this until next, hold on, I can't hear you. Go ahead.
A motion on the floor, so we don't have to do anything.
Okay. All right. So we're going to workshop this a little more and we'll get it going. So moving to the next item on the agenda tonight. Hold on, I'm pulling up my agenda. It's taking me a minute. Oh. Come on. Okay, here we are. Voter gravity and the election plan. Yes. So I believe this is Mr. Loria.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Chair. So I don't necessarily have a motion quite yet. I kind of figured we'd form that, but essentially I am proposing that the Libertarian Party of Colorado create an association with a company called Vote Gravity. They are a door-knocking, canvassing data tool that can be used. It was originally potentially created for LP National. I don't really know what the details are of why that didn't necessarily pick up, so I don't know, and I'm not here to speculate. I was tipped off about it by a candidate running in Ohio. I have, in Jefferson County, set up Merle and Jessica for their city council races for the first month because I wanted to do some research and development. We did a training at the Jeffco meetup. I think this is exactly the tool that would give us a big I don't know if it would give us an edge, but it'd allow us to play on an equal footing a lot more with the Republicans and Democrats. They pull in Secretary of State lists that are updated 3 times a year. They can always be updated more often based on what the candidate needs as well. And then they also intake other individual single issue demographic data as well. So this is something that we could use for both our candidates and both canvassing for our own party. Right now, they are cheaper than what we found with eCanvasser with Aaron Lamb. Right now, on a state level race, state house level race or lower, it's $100 to like $125 a month based on what you're using it for. What they are willing to do, because this program was created by people who are libertarians, is they're willing to do an association fee with us, which essentially is we would have to negotiate this. It would be somewhere probably between $200 to $300 a month for us. Every candidate then that we reference to them pays a small nominal fee per month. So instead of paying $100 per month, they may only pay $25, $30 a month, enough to keep the candidate invested, but not so much that it swamps their campaign. I think this would be super helpful. We could give it to local candidates. That would be the priority. I have created a sort of fundraising proposal that is very loose and right now with Ms. King and with Mr. Vukovic, and with the rest of the board, just to kind of take a look. But the ultimate goal would be to create a sustainable fundraising amount we have every year that we can start giving to local candidates that they can use to set up a website and then pay for this canvassing software. Ultimately, probably what we're looking at with, if we take in Mr. Vukovic's suggestion, which is find a college student or somebody that maybe is willing to be paid a small fee, maybe a couple $1,000s for 3 to 4 to 5 months of helping to manage these portals for these campaigns. That ultimately then turns into a long thing of an actual employee for us, or to the point where our candidates and campaigns get going enough where their campaign managers or someone on their staff is capable enough with this software. It provides us a door knocking tool where we can, and I already did this with Jessica's campaign for myself and a couple other people. I was able to, it's all broken down by precincts, which makes it much easier to walk. I basically took just the libertarians in that precinct. I made them into a walking list. And then when I go on my phone and log into my account, it pops up a walking list. I can create, either it will give me directions or I could create a walking direction for the person. I can attach, I don't even need to attach surveys. We can create surveys that have questions on it. And then someone can just pull up those surveys and ask questions and answer it. All that data will go into that system. And then all of those lists can be pulled via Excel file or other ways so that we can stay a little bit more on top of things. So we will have our Secretary of State data, but then we will also be able to layer all of that demographic data that we really need. Like, for example, I can go in right now into our data, like for Merle, for example, one of his platform points is the Second Amendment, and I can pull demographic information for anyone who supports the Second Amendment, anyone who's given money, filled out a petition or a form, any way that you could put yourself in the public forum that you support the Second Amendment. You will then be swept up in our data and we will be able to pinpoint you more directly. So we will be able to rank voters for door knocking in a way that our candidates just never have been able to. The idea right now is that we do it for local candidates, and then theoretically, depending on what happens next year and in 2026, we have this available for a couple of our bigger state candidates to be able to use as well. Let's say we have one really good two-way race, maybe in Denver or something, where we have a condensed amount of people anyways, or even in a more rural area, we can give this to our volunteers. The thing that I think particularly sets this apart from any of the other canvassing tools we can use are two things. The first is, being that it is built and made by libertarians, they are willing to give us training and communication on a level that they probably are not willing to give anyone else. And the second is, with at least eCanvasser and some of the other tools I've come across, you get a certain number of volunteers you can add to a campaign before you have to pay more money. Voter gravity is just as many as you want. So if we have a campaign where we can actually rally 10, 15, 20 people to door knock, we are not limited by price and have to go up. This theoretically could then be used to support candidates in the rest of the region as well. Like I said, I don't know the price they were asking per month from national. I would assume it'd be more than what he pitched to me. But what he pitched to me was probably somewhere between $200 or $300. We would have to sit down and kind of 100% decide with them what that fee would look like. You know, I mean, if we ideally, the more candidates we could get on this software, the less they would theoretically charge us. That's my spiel.
Mr. Vukovich, I see your hand raised.
Very in favor of this. We need to hammer out what it looks like for us to hire people. I know we have an EIN, but like there's like potentially tax obligations and things like that if we're actually going to pay somebody. Unless we do things as a contractor instead of an employee, we'd have to get all that sorted out. But if we can, we were able to organize people into the eCanvasser software last year enough to get every door in Keensburg knocked, which I think made a huge difference. If we have this tool where it's super easy for people to get into, and we have someone who is spending a significant portion of their time every week coordinating those volunteers across these campaigns with the goal of making sure that like all the voters in these districts get contacted in some way, I think we can achieve pretty similar success across all these candidates. But it's going to be very hard without someone who can devote like more than someone with a full-time job can to doing that every week. So we have to figure out like what the number for the campaign season looks like, right? But if we could figure out what it takes to hire people, and like the number that we're willing to spend till the end of convention season on like a political director, I think probably is the title that would make sense for this. I think we can really level up on what we did last year.
And this is something that definitely could be taken and accounts created for affiliates to be able to do canvassing data. I mean, I know that is part of my plan with Jessica and Merle's campaign is the first walking lists I'm making are just our own party members, just so they know, you know, just questions like, hey, do you care about our party? If you don't, what could get you to care about our party? What could actually get you to go out and give money and knock doors? But you know, it may not be something that we have to pay for the entire year, but even if we do, we're looking at, I mean, I think what I wrote in my board report was thinking if we're paying however we're doing this employee contractor somewhere between $1,500 and $2,500 for like 4 months, 5 months at most, then plus having it for the entire year, we're looking at $5,000 to $7,000 for the entire year, which I know is a big expense that the board has made. But outside of the convention, we don't really necessarily make big expenses. The idea is that this will definitely give us a good return for sure. And I mean, obviously for them, the more candidates who use their system who can actually win is going to look better. So ideally, it's a mutually beneficial relationship.
Miss King, I see your hand raised.
Jacob, how many local candidates do we have running this year?
Okay, so currently that I have confirmed, I have the 2 in Arvada. Joe is not needed because he's just applying to his special district. I have 1 in Longmont. I have definitely a person who's interested in a school board in Windsor. And there was someone else. Oh, I have a guy definitely who's going to run in Florence. And then And right now, I am looking for 4 people for Centennial. I'm looking for 4 people now in Lakewood, Colorado. The GOP, we talked about us staying out of Lakewood for them to stay out of Arvada, but from the information I have recently heard, the GOP cannot recruit anybody, it seems like, in Lakewood. So we're going to be recruiting there. We have at least a city board or city council in Arvada that we want to try and fill. So, I mean, right now, I think 6 to 7 serious candidates who are definitely going to run. Besides Merle and Jessica, I know of 2 others who plan on using the canvassing software, probably whether we do the association fee or not. Ideally, if I get my way, I would like somewhere between 12 to 15 serious candidates who are trying to raise money and trying to win their races.
I'm just going to shamelessly plug really quick. If you live in Lakewood and you want to run for city council, I really need you to contact our campaigns director at lpcolorado.org. Mr. Bukovich, I see your hand raised.
I had a question for Merle, actually. What's our bank account look like at the moment? Like, what are our current funds?
I believe when I looked a few days ago, I believe our state account had a little over $31,000. And then like 1,700 something for our federal.
Okay.
I put that in my board report, but
I want to make sure it's not like completely outside of what we can do. When I throw this out here.
Okay.
But
anyway, I'm good with numbers. I'm pretty sure that's it.
Perfect. If we are looking for someone to start on August 1st, which I think if we hammer out like figuring out what it takes for us to employ somebody, and get the applications out there, that's not unrealistic. If we're looking for them to do 20 hours a week through the end of the election, and we're gonna pay them just $15 an hour, we're looking at $4,500 for a contract for that length of time.
Okay. What I would, I guess, push or not push, what I would say on that is, I would think we would want to send out a series of emails about this, to try and get some more maybe recurring monthly donors for that. And then also, here's a question: if we do it, and
the fact that we have that,
yeah,
I think we
if
should pass a number tonight so that
okay, cool.
we know what we're looking at for the entirety of election season. If we have to like not do big stuff the rest of the year, as some of these bank accounts replenished, that's okay. But like this was our primary mission. If we have to spend like 9K on this, like throughout the year, then it's what we got to do.
I agree.
Is there, pardon?
Can't hear you at all, Andy.
Why did you say that?
Well, we just couldn't hear you just then.
Oh, okay.
Just by gesturing wildly.
Okay. I was just saying that like this was our like main priority, as I understand, of like the thing that we want to get done this year. We definitely can fundraise big time off of hiring a person if we do. I just like, it looks scary to spend like close to a third of what we have in the bank account on this one election season, right? But since I've been on this board, we've been saying like we need to figure out a productive way to like spend money to make money. And I think like tactically approaching a real political result and like paying a competent person to do that is a way to get us there.
Thank you for that perspective. Michael, Mr. Vance, I see your hand raised.
I want to say real quickly that, I mean, we are a political party, and at the end of the day, we want to win elections. And we're currently in a deal with the GOP to try to leverage our liberty to help not only the Colorado GOP be more liberty-based, but also give us that space to help win elections. And I think if like Andy said, if we need to spend 8K to win elections, we need to spend 8K to win elections. And that's only going to increase our relevancy and our and what we're doing as a board.
So are we looking to make a motion tonight to pass this?
Jacob, you said it's like between 200 and 300 for just the software, right?
Yes, that's correct. So 300 is probably what you're looking at max.
Probably like a K-ish for the whole election cycle.
Yes, yeah. And I mean, in my board report, I put it as high as I think for an entire year, but that was also including if we kept it for canvassing. If we're doing it for the election cycle, we need it for 5 months, and that's it total. And that's even assuming, I mean, at this point, that we even need November. We may not, because a month or a week into November is the election. So it could very well just be a thing of we're not going to get charged for that month since it's just a week. I don't have an answer to that question yet.
Okay. We don't have to spend this, but this gives us some cushion to negotiate because it's going to be involved with hiring somebody. I move to allocate $9,000 for voter gravity and hiring a political director to manage our candidates' access to it during the election season.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to allocate, did you say $9,000? Okay. Is there any further discussion?
If possible, I'd like to work with Erin as soon as possible on the fundraising campaign around this. I think that we can put together a robust campaign. We'll do the thermometer. We need to raise this much to actually win elections. We'll start with email campaigns. We'll put it on social, like a really robust fundraising campaign directly about raising this $9,000. I think we can get close, if not get everything we need to do this, because we're trying to get people in office and trying to improve our state. Like, this is our whole job.
This is what people have responded to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, just so everyone knows, if I haven't told everyone already, this is not, at least with my campaign, this is not just a libertarian effort. I have several Republicans who go to my church who have agreed, who have offered to canvass their precincts, and even a couple that have said that they would put yard signs in their yards for my campaign. So we have just a general liberty movement going. If the board would agree, this could be a very good thing, I think.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All right, so is there any objection to passing this allocation of $9,000 for the voter gravity software for this campaign cycle? Hearing no objection, the motion passes.
Let's fucking go!
Please maintain your decorum in my board meeting, Mr. Loria.
My virgin ears.
Yeah, right.
Next, let's see. So I guess why does the agenda keep doing this to me? It like keeps reloading. Sorry. And you guys know I'm super great with computers. It's my skill set. Okay, so the style committee, we will be appointing that next month. We got the applications on the website, all of that. So we're moving that. Did we have any applicants for audit committee? No? Okay. Well, I think that the best thing that we can do is to put out a massive push for for the audit committee and the style committee. And then obviously we're going to need to do, or I don't know what Aaron's going to want to do, or whoever becomes the chair of the convention committee is going to want to do, but we can make a strong push in an email campaign over the next month, scheduling an email maybe once a week to try and really drum up people to fill these positions. So next, we're going to move to the convention committee, and we will be appointing the convention committee chair. I don't actually know how to do this because I've only seen it done like twice. I believe Miss King, does she automatically become Miss, help me.
I think you have to move to appoint Miss King as convention committee chair. And as a matter of fact, I move to appoint Miss King as convention committee chair.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Thank you, because I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing now at this point. All right. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any objection to Miss King becoming the convention committee chair? No one else wants it. Hearing no objection, that passes.
Well, I don't want it either, but I kind of don't have a choice. So thank
You're
you
good
for
at
the dubious honor.
Thank you for your service. Really. All right. Now we need to go and visit the revised convention minutes. Mr. Bukovich, how do you want to handle this? I don't know how to do this one either.
Good. So, after we approved the last minutes, Miss Harlow kindly pointed out to me, Miss Harlow's kindly pointed out to me that you can't link to external documents, which makes sense because the minutes need to live forever, and there's no guarantee that like Google Sheets is going to be around forever. So I just took stuff that was linked externally and attached screenshots, and then appended the platform and bylaws committee reports to the end of the minutes to get everything in compliance with Roberts. I actually had a question. Did anybody here have a chance to review those?
I did. I'm not a great proofreader, apparently.
I'm specifically wondering, Ms. Harlows, did you happen to take a peek?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I did it briefly, and from what I saw was good. And I tell you who forced me to do it, and who I know reviewed it is Mark Montoni, because he wrote me asking a question. He didn't know for sure in that chart. He goes, we did pass the dues thing, and I went and looked it up on the chart. So I can't say I looked at it like thoroughly, but you and I had
You
a
looked at it the
conversation.
first time.
Yeah.
It's just as long as as long as you like had a chance to at least review it, I feel comfortable. I would move to adopt the revisions to the convention minutes.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Great. We have the motion to approve the revised convention minutes and a second. Is there any discussion? All right. Is there any objection? Hearing no objection, that passes. So Prop HH discussion is next on the agenda, and this ties into the meeting that I had with Mr. Gonzalez, Mr. Vance, Mr. Loria, and Natalie Menton. Penn Fiftner, a former chair of the LPCO, he's also involved, and we were supposed to be meeting with him, but he had some unexpected situations arise, so he was not able to attend. Mr. Gonzalez, would you like to speak to this?
Sure, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. So we recently met with Natalie Menton, and she gave us just a breakdown of what's going on with Prop HH. She sent us some really important bullet points. If you give me a quick sec, I'm going to pull up the email with those bullet points. But basically, Prop HH is believed to be just kind of a way for the Democrats to eliminate TABOR in the state of Colorado. And we all know that TABOR actually protects a lot of us in our financial interests. Prop HH will destroy TABOR and will increase the cost of everything, which is already skyrocketed because of demand and high taxes. So we're hopefully hopefully tonight we can make some sort of resolution so that we can support Prop HH and the organizations that are coming forward to also to oppose Prop HH, not support, oppose it, and support any of the other organizations that are opposing Prop HH together.
Mr. Bukovich, I see your hand raised.
I forgot to put it down, but I actually do have something to say on this one. I believe that we have two motions on this. I combined the discussion item into one thing, but we had Aaron wanted to talk about a barbecue for this, and then also I have a resolution prepared that I think Mr. Gonzalez was prepared to move. Basically, just officially declaring the LPCO's opposition to Prop HH. Do you have a preference in which order you would like me to tackle those?
I don't care. Pick one.
Okay, so let me read the resolution first because it's long and boring, and I'll go through it super fast. Basically, okay, so here we go. Whereas the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights in Colorado provides a crucial check on government expansion by requiring tax increases to be approved by voters and establishes an automatic increase formula for the government budget based on inflation population growth. Whereas Prop HH seeks to leverage taper rebates to decrease expected property tax increases, and yet this reduction is expected to be minimal while property taxes will remain drastically high. Whereas Prop HH introduces an automatic government growth provision which allows the state to grow 1% faster annually than the increases specified by Tabor, leading to an exponential increase in government size due to a compounding effect. Whereas these alterations present a potential threat to the economic liberties of Coloradans, as the proposed legislation could lead to increased taxation, a reduction in income tax rebates, and future fiscal uncertainties. Do you guys want me to continue, or are you all comfortable with what you've read in your email? Because this is all in your email.
I'm comfortable with my email.
I'm fine.
That's pretty much the gist of it. It goes into a bunch of things about why Prop HH is bad, but then it says, therefore be it resolved, LPCO expresses a strong opposition to Prop HH as it contradicts the principles of limited government, fiscal responsibility, and individual liberty. Be it further resolved, LPCO urges lawmakers to explore alternative solutions that are transparent, respectful of taxpayer rights, and in line with fiscal responsibility to address the issue of rising property taxes. Be it further resolved that the LPCO calls upon its members and all Colorado citizens to reject Prop HH and demand greater transparency and accountability in tax legislation.
Great.
To adopt that resolution.
Great. We have the resolution moved and it's been seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, is there any objection to passing this? Hearing no objection, that passes. Moving on to the fundraising barbecue for Prop HH. Let's hear that.
All right. So Prop HH is terrible. It's a total shell game put forward by Polis to use your own tax money to lower rates somehow through magic, all while getting rid of, any sort of refunds you're going to get. This has been pretty widely reviled. Even Kyle Clark has been like, what is this shit? Sorry. I would like the LPCO to sort of take charge with this because I haven't seen a whole ton. I know that we're, talking to kind of a Tabor Protection Coalition. I would like to join with that coalition. I would like to lead the charge. I would like to do kind of an educational barbecue, probably mid to late September, and an educational push. I'd like to do this at a public park. I'd like to do it at Wash Park if possible. I don't want to do it at City Park because that's a nightmare down there. But I do want it to be a fairly high traffic park so that we can kind of hand stuff out, have food. I want it to be open to the public. I would like to invite anybody and everybody who opposes Prop HH to join. So GOP, Advanced Colorado, Independence Institute, yada, yada. But I want it to be a fundraiser for the LPCO. So with that said, there's a fair amount of permitting and nonsense that I need to do to get that going. We can't, unfortunately, just set up a barbecue in the middle of the park. As cool as moving. So I would like to motion. I would like to motion to allocate $1,500 for all the necessary permitting to get this started, and then I can reach out.
Great. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Great. We have a motion to allocate funds to set up this educational barbecue for the public as well as our allies. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Secretary?
I have to on the record. Do we have like a plan for different organizations to get like sponsorship tables and like et cetera and like make some money off this?
I don't totally have a plan for that. Yes, that yet. It's not like written out and super solid, but that is the goal.
Mr. Gonzalez?
I just want to make it very clear that I oppose Prop HH. Oppose, not support. Oppose.
Something that I'm wondering is if this might be an opportunity to go beyond the election piece with Dave and the GOPs, because they should be opposed to this as well. Like when we went to the Tabor event, they were all GOP. So I'm wondering if I don't know how to build on that idea, but I'm wondering.
Yes, I do plan. Also, like, this could be a great opportunity, certainly for our candidates and any other candidates who strongly oppose Prop HH and want to like actively work to reduce mill levies, for example. That'd be cool.
Already working on that.
Yeah. So I think it could be kind of a really good, like, larger conglomeration coalition on a single issue, and potentially a really good fundraiser for us. So
I love that.
I personally had some positive communications recently with the new chairwoman of the Jefferson County GOP, so I could talk to her about getting our local GOP people involved as well.
Great. So we have a motion, we have a second, we've had some discussion. Is there any further discussion? Nope. All right. Is there any objection? Do I hear any objection? Hearing none, that motion passes. Last on the agenda is the Delta County discussion of Delta County funds. So this initially kind of started as my idea. I wondered, we have this money that's been sitting here for a long time, about $500. Nothing's been done with it. The idea is that it would help Delta County either promote liberty or get an affiliate going there again. And I wondered, what could we do to do that? There's no active libertarians there, and the people that were active are no longer in the party. So I came up with an idea. Books are a big passion of mine. Most people don't know that I'm completely self-educated, but I am. I have no post-secondary education. However, I read the books that most people discuss in college and don't read. So that's something. The idea that I came up with is, would it be really cool? I serve on the Friends of the Library committee here in Phillips County, and I am linked into that network because every county in Colorado has a Friends of the Library, and what they do is they help support libraries as far as getting book materials, things like that, and they're always looking to support their community. So I thought it would be interesting if we would use some of the funds allocated for Delta County to help boost their library with Liberty materials. And I looked at one thing that I use in my homeschool, and I've also purchased for my own library, is the complete collections of the Tuttle Twins books. So they're geared for all ages of youth, from little kids to intermediate kids to like your high schoolers. My kids love them. They have read every single one of them, and they're some of the most checked out books in my library. Actually, the most checked out book is Radicals for Capitalism, and I donated that book to my library. So Phillips County, we have a really based library, and I'm very proud of it because I am the person behind that. So looking at the Tuttle Twins collections altogether, they were something around like $208.31. And, you know, the minds of the youth is really what we should be going for, because unfortunately the youth is so lost today, right? From the schools being just basic mass indoctrination camps, they're not teaching how the government works. They're not teaching the ideas that you are a sovereign individual and that the Constitution is there to protect your rights as an individual, right? Even here in Phillips County, being extremely rural, even our curriculum here in Phillips County is very radical. So the only way actually to kill an idea is to replace it with another idea. And so this is just the calling, I think, of my heart and my mind, that we would help spread the ideas of liberty to the youth of Delta County, because all the youth in Colorado do not have a voice, and they're like essentially left behind. If you're not with the indoctrination program, you're cast aside. So this was just an idea that I had, and I would like to see if we can get any discussion on this and any support. Miss King, I see your hand raised.
As a child who spent most of my life in a library, I love this idea. Honestly, I love this idea. I think that I think this could be like an ongoing fundraiser. How awesome would it be for there to be complete Tuttle Twins and maybe other Liberty books donated by the LP of Colorado? I mean, I assume that we can put like book plates in there or like a stamp or something that says donated by the Libertarian Party of Colorado, lpcolorado.org, you know? I assume that we can do that. If we can't, that's a bummer. But
we can.
But if we can, I mean, that those books could go through thousands and thousands of hands. I mean, and that would spread ideas even when we don't have affiliates somewhere. I mean, I think we should do this for every library in Colorado, but I have no problem with starting in Delta.
Mr. Secretary, I see your hand raised. I can't hear you.
We have a hand in the room.
Oh, okay, great. I would like to open the floor to who has their hand raised.
You're going to probably have to get closer.
Carlos.
Hi, Mr. Carlos.
To take that money that we had earmarked for Delta County and put that into our general fund about 6 months ago. And there was some pushback on that because that money was specifically given to us by Delta County to be earmarked only for the use of helping a new affiliate or development group get started. And so I think the idea of donating books is a wonderful one, but I don't think that money can be used for that. You know, we have a promise that we made, and I had forgotten about it, and I was forced to look it up, and I found the pledge that we made to Delta County when we received the money that would only be used to help build a new affiliate if one formed. So I just want to bring that to your attention.
Okay, thank you. Ms. King?
I recall this moment. The objections were brought up by a former member, not a current member. They're also, while I can respect that, I think that should we get enough libertarians in Delta who want to start a development group, that could be many, many years. And it seems silly to sit on that money. It also seems unlikely that we would not have $500 to help a growing affiliate in the future. That's my 2 cents on that.
So I definitely don't want to like violate any sort of thing that could get us in trouble. Mr. Luria first, and then Mr. Bukovich. Okay, Mr. Luria.
Well, an argument could be made that with putting these books in place, we are planting the seeds that in maybe 10 years, a new affiliate springs up in Delta County. We could make somewhere in Delta County the first libraries to put the books.
Mr. Bukovich.
We had another hand in the room.
Okay.
Oh, several hands in the room.
Okay. Tell me their names and I'll call on them in order.
Was it Bruce, Wayne, Karen Ann?
No, I've already spoken.
Bruce, then Karen Ann.
Blake.
Blake. I'm so sorry, Blake.
Not Bruce Wayne.
I know
do
that.
look like
I know
Batman.
that too. I'm so
Batman on
sorry.
a bad day. But, Ms. Chair, do you prefer Madam Chair or Ms. Chair?
Madam Chair, thank you.
Send me an email. I will donate.
Okay. Okay. And Miss Harlos.
Yeah, this has been a ticklish situation. Since we got an offer to donate to fulfill your passion project, which I think is a great idea, but also to put this money to use. We all know that there's a whole situation going on there. But how about to fulfill our other mission, spending that money on postcards to recruit potential candidates out in Delta County and also invite them if they want to start an affiliate. I don't like the expression kills two birds with one stone. My two birds at home get very nervous. But it accomplishes two goals at once. It gets the word out. I keep hearing over and over from the board that we want to push elections, push elections, push elections. And if we mention that we still need an affiliate out there, it accomplishes two objectives. And I think that might be more in line with the intent. I'd like to get this albatross out of our bank account and fulfill the, at least the spirit of the intent. And it seems like with Blake's offer, we can do everything.
Yes, no, that's actually really exciting. Miss Steinke, I see your hand raised, actually.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that print collateral marketing campaigns are very expensive. Like they're very, very expensive, even if it's just a postcard, even if it's that money adds up really quickly. If we engage with this new campaign software, we may be able to do it in a way that's incredibly deliberate and save some money. But they're very expensive. So the idea of, just throw out a postcard, it's a lot of money to do that.
Well, let me just throw something out there. This hasn't happened in a while. I don't think we have that many registered libertarians in Delta County, so I think the cost actually will not be that much, because remember, to be a candidate, you have to be a registered libertarian. So we're not really prospecting cold, it's off of our registered libertarians, but maybe, David, if you have the last SOS list, it might be too much to ask this quickly. But if Douglas only has 2,000 and Delta's way smaller than that. I would guess there's probably under 1,000 registered libertarians in Delta.
There's only 31,000 total residents in Delta County.
So maybe it's under 500, so I don't think it would be an expensive campaign. But there's something, who knows, it might pop up again. David Aiken will remember this. For several election cycles, there was someone who was sending out postcards to every single registered libertarian in Colorado asking them to run for office, and we had no idea who it was. They just kept doing it.
Wow.
As to who it was. But no, they never signed it or anything, because we'd have people write us saying, I got your postcard. We'd be like, well, what postcard? And we get pictures of it. Now they stopped. I don't know whether it's because they left. Since it's been happening for so long, maybe they're no longer with us. But those got us candidates. That anonymous person just sending out postcards got us candidates. So I think Delta's small enough that we could be effective at that. But again, it's the board's decision. I'm just throwing that out there.
I'm going to call on Mr. Aiken. His hand has been raised for a while.
I'll put some money towards the books, maybe $200.
Okay, I'm really excited. Thank you, both you and Mr. Huber, for your generosity. Mr. Luria.
Real quickly, I would, I guess, push if we're going to do postcards, just for our own records, because we may not have anybody to really canvas out there. It would be good to add a section to that. I don't know if we can do it as like a return mailer as well, or something for people to be able to send us their updated phone and email if they're interested in doing that. I mean, in the CRM, we have about 400 people in there in Delta County. I don't know how many of them are still registered, but it'd be nice to have updated contact information. It would be much easier to grow anything in any affiliate with the easier it is to contact people.
I was also made aware that Mr. Atwood had his hand up. I'm so sorry. Sometimes I can see that side of the room and sometimes I can't. Would you still like to make comment, Mr. Atwood?
Thank you for asking.
Okay. Mr. Gonzalez, were you just raising your hand to tell me that?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Bukovich, do you still want to make a comment? Okay, your hand's still up. Cool. Okay, so I'm hearing, I think both projects are going to be great, although I'm not going to move to use those funds just yet. I would like to put together an actual proposal for what it's going to cost, how many places we're going to send postcards to, and that. So I'm just going to go ahead and just put that on the agenda for next month. But I definitely, yes, I would really just like to see what we can do to restart Delta County with those funds. Regardless how we do it, that's just what I'm looking to do. So I'll be in touch with both Mr. Aiken and Mr. Huber. And then we'll look at doing a postcard campaign next month. So that, I believe, concludes all of that. Now, is there any announcements or is there any further public comment? Mr. Aiken.
123 registered libertarians in Delta County as of the end of April.
Wow, they beat me. And they're smaller than me. What am I doing wrong? All right. So 23. Oh, Mr. Atwood, would you like to speak?
Just once again, thank you, Libertarian Party, for letting people speak at the end of the meeting. Thank you. I wish council was that generous.
Right? Yes. I saw Mr. Burgesson have his hand up, but then he took it down. Do you want to make
No,
comment?
thank you.
Okay. Mr. Bukovich.